Welcome to another episode of the NeoLiberal podcast. I am Renaldo McKenzie. Notice I'm not wearing a tie. I was watching this series on Netflix. It's called Your Honor. The guy that stars in Breaking Bad. The guy that stars in Breaking Bad. He is the main character, one of the main characters, or the main character. But in Your Honor, one of the main protagonists, some mafia boss. There was a scene where he's speaking with his son, and his son said to him, well, his son was wearing a tie, looking rather sharp. Usually, that was not his attire. He wasn't wearing the professional attire. But in this particular scene, he was with his dad. Came up to his dad, and he's wearing a professional attire, shirt, tie, and a jacket suit. His father was in a suit but no tie, just like white shirt but no tie. His father said to him, looking smart, looking good, looking sharp. But you notice I'm not wearing a tie. Do you know why I'm not wearing a tie? I mean, because no one tells me what to do. If I wear a tie, it tells me I answer to somebody. But by not wearing a tie, I deliberately didn't wear a tie today because I wanted to send a message that I don't answer to nobody. So not wearing a tie means nothing. You do not answer to anyone. And some time ago, I think I saw JJ Reddick doesn't wear a tie for the most part. Maybe he doesn't answer to anyone except on Wednesdays when he has to answer to Mad Dog. I slipped that in. But today we're going to be talking about mentoring. What is mentoring? Mentoring is very important. Mentoring is a very important topic. And today I am celebrating 11 years since I graduated. Well, it's 11 years since I graduated from the University of Penn today. 11 years since I graduated from the University of Penn. And let me maximize this screen. Today, we're going to be talking about mentoring, how to invest your life in others. And I graduated from Penn about 11 years ago. I was the program coordinator for the Clinician Association. I helped to run the mentoring program there. But my experience and my training and with in terms of mentoring came from Jamaica Theological Seminary, and I currently am a professor, adjunct professor at Jamaica Theological Seminary, teaching Caribbean thought. I also teach, and I'll be teaching Caribbean theology. But I 11 years ago, I graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. And then, of course, with a master's of liberal studies. And then 12 years ago, I graduated with a master's of philosophy. But what was quite powerful was the fact that I was able to empower so many young people in the Upward Bound program while at Penn. And some of the materials I used came from the materials I had garnered from Renewed Ministries. And I met Reverend Courtney Richards, who became my mentor when I was doing undergrad at Jamaica Theological Seminary. And he was the president and leader of Renewed Ministries. And Renewed Ministries and himself, Reverend Courtney Richards, was a counseling and clinical psychologist. And he was a professor in Indiana at Bethel College, and he started Renewed Ministries. And he came to Jamaica, and he shared and invested and called up a group of boys, a group of young men and young women. And he started and he ran and started a branch of Renewed Ministries. I was the benefactor. I benefited from some of his training. And I think he used materials and training from John Maxwell, which I was privy to those trainings. And I was ordained a minister and became youth minister for the United Church in Jamaica and Cayman Islands, and later pastor throughout the Caribbean and then Cayman Islands. And here in the US, I utilized what I learned under Reverend Courtney Richards and his concept about mentoring. And of course, I went throughout the Caribbean with Reverend Courtney Richards, sharing this issue, sharing what practical steps towards mentoring and investing into other people, but talking about the importance of leadership, how to invest in others, and what leadership really is. And one aspect of leadership is mentoring, and he honed in on that. And I took that as a young man and ran with it. And, one of the things that Reverend Courtney Richards, as my mentor, taught me was that mentoring is a relational experience where one person invests in another, invest your resources in, and he invested in my life and several of us. And all of us today are doing major things, investing in others. So, we talk about mentoring being a relational experience, but we talk about, but Renewed Ministries was also about developing disciples. Discipleship was about discipleship training, and mentoring is one aspect of discipleship training or apprenticeship training, which was, in some time ago, I was talking about, the end of currency and how work life has been transformed. When you study economic history or labor history, you look at civilization from agrarian to industrial to technological, and now we are looking at the computer age and AI. But work is changing. But as we look at how work evolved, how work has transformed, you find what was basic to work and transition and training was not necessarily college or collegiate institutions or academic or systems of passing on information and so on. But what was important was apprenticeship, mentoring, passing on the skills, the training, and the professions to the younger ones. We don't have that anymore. And I think there might probably, as we think about the future, there is a need for that. There is a need for that. And as we look at what's going on in our society today, in America and in the world with our young people, and so there is a need to get back to basics. And today I want to talk about mentoring, because what was an important part of my ministry, an important part of my movement, an important part of the programs and the service that we offer here at the NeoLiberal Corporation is we're about empowerment and sharing information. We said that we are about serving the world today to solve tomorrow's challenges. That is what I'm about. That's what the NeoLiberal Corporation is about. Serving the world today to solve tomorrow's challenges by making popular what was the monopoly. That's important, by making popular what was the monopoly. And one of the things that, and when we talk about communication, is to make popular what was the monopoly. And that's what mentoring is. That's what discipleship is. That's what apprenticeship is. That's what succession planning is. You're passing on. You're empowering others. You're investing in others. And it involves some sacrifices. And it involves making popular what was the monopoly, what was the control. So information that we have here and that we have access to, we're going to share it. And most of the information that we share at the NeoLiberal, and if you visit the NeoLiberal Moral magazine, it's all free. We do not charge. You can, of course, donate to the podcast by going to anchor.fm/NeoLiberal/support, or you can invest in our corporation and in the movement and what we're trying to do in terms of empowerment by purchasing our books and our materials and so on and so forth. But it's free to access any of our materials. And today, what Reverend Courtney Richards has passed on to me, I'm going to share it with you. And I did get permission to share this material and to utilize it in our programming and in my ministry and in my movements and so on. And I want to share this information with you. If you are a leader, if you are an adult, if you are a parent, with people in you, if you want to serve as a role model to the younger ones coming up, I am going to share with you a very powerful material, and it is available if you go to the website. And I think it's saying we're selling it for $5.99. We're not selling it. That's what the website says. It's absolutely free. If you want a copy of this, we'll send it to you. But Reverend Courtney Richards was powerful and instrumental. Renewed Ministries, RENEWED, and they're not about promoting Christianity, but of course Christian virtues. Yes, because we value that. Christian virtues talk about love. That is something that we want to recapture in our society. Talk about developing our human conscience, because it's as if in society we're behaving like goats in pens. But today's podcast, we want to talk about mentoring, what it is. When we think about investing, when you think about mentoring is about investing your life in other people. Mentoring is about an investment in others. And one of the things that I have learned about mentoring is that there are two models of learning. There are two learning models. As you delve into this whole concept and practice of mentoring, It's very important to distinguish between two models, a Greek and a Hebrew model, a classroom model and a coach model. What takes place in a classroom and what takes place on the field. I will give you a different, if you ever played sports or on a team, then how you are taught and the classroom experience of learning as against the coach experience, or sorry, the coaching experience on the football field, or whatever the case might be, it's different. The classroom model follows a Greek model, the Greek model of learning. And when we talk about the Greek model, we're talking about a particular civilization. We're talking about a particular school of thought. We're talking about a particular point in history. The Greek model in the Greek dominated world. When we think about learning, and if you study Aristotle and Plato, learning was always academic. Yes, and I tell people I'm an academic. It was always institutional, systematic, heavy-handed, in a sense. But of course, academics and the way we think about learning today is changing in the academic setting. Okay, but because now it is more now situational, but we'll talk more about that. But people are now changing. But previously, when we think about learning, because mentoring is about investing your life in others. Mentoring is about training and development and apprenticeship. So therefore, when we look at the two models, there's a Greek model of learning, which is the academic, which is the passive, which is the theoretical. Okay, now as against the Hebrew model, which is more relational. Of course, in academics, they're now talking. When we look at the syllabuses now and course outlines, they are honing in and encouraging relationships for professors to get to know their students. But the Hebrew model of learning, so now the Greek model of learning that institutions and colleges and schools normally follow, it's now teetering or moving or evolving towards the Hebrew model or a more coach model. It's relational. The Hebrew model of learning is relational. It is experiential. It's on the job training. So that will give you two concepts of learning. We won't delve into this because we only have a few minutes. This is a summary and part of a wider presentation. Now, having gotten this understanding of learning, which differentiates between the Greek and the Hebrew model. Greek, which is, according to Reverend Courtney Richards and Renew, the Greek model of learning is more academic. It's more a classroom model as against the Hebrew model. Hebrew is before Greeks. So it's kind of interesting that the Hebrew follows it was more experiential. It was more relational. It was more experiential. If you look at the relationship between Moses and the people, between Joshua and so on and so forth, and the prophets, it was more relational. And of course, if you look at in the Hebrew scriptures, the relationship between the divine, the ultimate, and his people, and the Hebrew people, it was always based on relationship. It was always based on experience. But if you look at in the Greco model, in the New Testament, if you read the New Testament, you find Paul, the Pauline scriptures and so on. He was always academic in a sense. You talk about the Pauline letters and so on. But of course, the mentoring more follows the Hebrew model. Mentoring is not a classroom experience. So therefore, mentoring is a relational experience where one person empowers another by sharing natural and given resources. So mentoring, when we think about mentoring and is about investing in others. We are moving away from a Greek model or a classroom model to more a coach or a Hebrew model. It's more relational. It's more experiential. It's more apprenticeship. It's a relational experience. Mentoring, and I've seen programs, people develop mentoring programs, and it is no different from the classroom experience. But mentoring is relational. It's relationship. And it is investing in others. It is an experience that is relational. And it involves empowering others by sharing natural and given resources. Now, according to Reverend Courtney Richards and Renewed Ministries, there are 7 kinds of mentors. And I believe he may have adapted this from Tim Elmore and John Maxwell. But there are 7 kinds of mentors. One, he talked about the mentor-discipler, the mentor-discipler. And we talk about the disciplers. The mentor-discipler is a discipler who have followers. Think about Jesus and his 12 disciples. Yes? So the mentor the mentor is a discipler. Leads by example, and that's a discipler is. Leads by example. A mentor provides guide. The mentor coach. There is the mentor counselor who provides counseling or you think about counselor. Counseling is about that, providing help. And of course, mentor is about providing help, but there's the mentor counselor, there's the mentor teacher. In other words, so therefore there's the mentor sponsor or the mentor model. When there are 7 kinds of mentors, and of course, if you want a successful mentors are able to gauge between the 7 models of mentoring. You don't want to stick to one particular kind of mentoring. You want to gauge between the two based on the situations of your mentees. The mentees are your proteges, the people who you are investing in, the mentees, the people who are being invested into. The mentees have different goals. The mentoring relationship have different goals, and individuals who come to the mentoring experience, there are different issues happening at any given day. So there are times you have to be a discipler, where you have to demonstrate a particular kind of behavior as a way to disciple. There is the mentor guide who provides, say for example, think about a scout, the Boy Scout or the Girl Scout, going and within a camp experience, and the scout provides guide, leads them to where they need to go or find whatever treasures or whatever the case might be. Okay, there are times when you have to guide your mentor. There are times when you have to provide coach, motivation, encouragement, and in a sense, and there are times when you have to be a counselor. A counselor is a helper, and of course, we think about counseling, someone who takes the time to listen and to provide advice, or a mentor teacher. Now, the mentor teacher, that's where you want to gauge the teaching with your academics. It could be that you are helping to facilitate. It could be an academic issue. The mentee might have an academic problem, and so therefore you're mentoring that particular day. Or the mentor teacher, you might not be able to provide the kind of academic support that the particular mentee needs. And of course, your job is to now survey where you can get that help and provide that help to the mentee. But the mentor, the mentor teacher is seen as an educator in a sense. There's also the mentor sponsor, providing sponsorship, providing it, and mentorship doesn't go beyond finance. There are times when, as a mentor, you may also have to invest financially or explore ways you can sponsor that mentor, not just finances, but any needs that he or she may have, or you might be able to help them with that. And of course, there's the mentor model. It provides a role model. The mentor model is a role. You're talking about the mentor who is a role model in a sense, who demonstrates a particular kind of behavior. Now, when we talk about you and your commitment, when you come to the mentoring experience, it involves a commitment. And a mentor is committed to a person. My mentees must sense my commitment. The people who I'm mentoring, my proteges, my mentees, they must sense commitment, my commitment to them as a person, not a project, not a duty. We must love them and have their best interests in mind. We must be loyal in a sense. The second thing is, you must be committed to a process. There will be ups, there will be downs through the seasons, but you meet with your mentee on a regular basis. And there are times when you have to step back and see the process they are in and the steps required, understanding and the steps required, which also involves understanding the big picture of their life. So it means we also have to be discerning. Again, we are committed to a person, not an activity or a project. Say, for example, people sign up for Big Brother, Big Sister, and in a sense, or you sign up for a mentoring program. But I must say to you that when you sign up to mentor someone, you're not signing up Two, you're not signing up as part of a project. You're not signing up as part of part of any duty or whatever the case might be. Your commitment is not to a project. Your commitment is to a person. The next thing, your commitment is to the process. There'll be ups and downs. The mentee may fail, may not be responsive. The mentee may not be meeting the goals, and there might be some give and take. But if you're committed to the process, it means that there will be ups and downs. You must, of course, step back and see the process. There are times you have to step back and see the process there, and the steps required. It means we have to understand the big picture of their life, get to know them, and it also means we must be discerning. The third thing is that we have to be committed to a purpose. Our final, and of course I talk about purpose is very important. Our final commitment must be to the end result. We must determine that we will see them from point A to point B, or the goal that has been mutually set. Of course, so when you come to the mentoring experience, you develop goals. There are goals that you have, okay, and we're going to see them through to that goal. We, as mentors, we must see the finished product. We must see the finished product. We talk about who was it? Caroline Dwett talked about the power of the not yet. Paul in Romans talk about salvation, what it is. Talk about being saved, shall be saved. And when we talk about the Christian experience, we talk about grace or faith, or who the Christian goes through a salvific process where we are saved, we are being saved, and we shall ultimately be saved, and we're ultimately saved. The finished product. As mentor, we must see the finished product inside our mentor and fulfill our commitment. But of course, we have to be diligent. Now, how do we gain influence with people? Because part of mentoring, if we're going to be if mentoring is a relational experience where you invest your life in others. But it means then that you have to gain influence with people, in order and influence with your mentees and your proteges, or the people who you're going to investing in. They have to see you as influential. And how do you gain influence? As powerful, in a sense, as effective, as somebody they can learn from or help to get them to the next level. And part of mentoring is not just investing your life in others, but it's a reciprocal. You want to empower them so that they can pass on what has been passed on to them. So you are empowering them so that they can empower others. Now, how do you gain influence with people? 1, investment. You want to invest in their lives. 2, you want to be natural with people, not fake. 3, have faith and be a faithful person. Have faith. We talk about faith is to believe that if you have the Bible talks about having a grain of mustard seed, you can move mountains. Faith is hope. You don't see the finished thing, but you believe in it, or you don't. In other words, you don't have the actual thing. Someone who is faithful and who is a person of faith. Someone who's great at listening. That's the counseling mentor now. Listening. Understanding. If you demonstrate a level of understanding. Someone who this is the coach part, encouragement, motivation. Someone who is constantly encouraging and motivating others. Someone who is providing who is navigating, helping to provide navigation. Say, for example, there are some young people who asked me to mentor them, and that's because I think I was having a conversation with a young man, and I said to him, he was down on himself about what's going on with his life, ups and downs, and I said, can I tell you, that's what makes life sweet. When you're driving and have to go through the potholes and go around curves and alleys, it's so beautiful. Think about driving a Tesla or whatever, or BMW or whatever the case might be, and you're going and you're driving and you have to slow down sometimes. That's beautiful, yes? And in a sense, I was helping him to navigate the issues, and he wanted to know more. That's how you gain influence. When you demonstrate concern, interest, what's going on? I'm concerned about you. And of course, when you have a level of enthusiasm, when you are enthusiastic, young people, and by the way, when we talk about the mentoring relationship, it's not just old people mentoring and investing into younger people. It could be a younger person mentoring an older person, or it could be persons within the same age group. It doesn't matter. Age is not a factor. But in most cases, you find that the dynamic of the relationship is where an older person is investing in a younger person. But of course, it's beyond that. But how do you gain influence in people? Of course, by investing in others, by being natural, faithful, by listening, by being understanding, by providing encouragement, by navigating, by demonstrating concern and enthusiasm. When people see that, and Tim Elmore writes a book, How to Be a People Person. Of course, how to gain influence with people. If you read that book, How to Be a People Person by Tim Elmore, he talks about 6 or 5 things about them in terms of 6 or 5 steps in being a people person. And these are some of the things you want to hone in on. You want to gain influence with people. You have to become a people person. And of course, other people couldn't care less about becoming a people person. Their mantra is, I don't care. When people say that, I don't care, it means that they are not thinking about mentoring. They're not thinking about investing in others. They're not thinking about society, the totality of society, and the bigger picture of life, and our responsibility to ensure the progression of life. By what? By mentoring, by encouraging others and investing in others. And to do that, we gain influence. But we have a responsibility to do that. Now, there are good mentors and there are bad mentors. A good mentor provides handles. Give their mentees, their disciples, or their followers, handles, things that they can hold on to, resources in a sense. They give them roadmaps. Because of course we talk about the mentor guide. So of course provide roadmaps. Help them with, and it's not just providing the roadmaps. And I'm going to change the word provide. The mentor doesn't provide it. The mentor facilitates it. Help the mentee to understand the map of life, and then help him come up with his directional map. Of course, a good mentor provides a lab. You could a space. Yes, for trial and error and for practice, a lab, a space. Sometimes you want to take them to places sometimes, or send them places to find themselves based on the overall goals of the mentoring relationship. You provide roots. You provide roots for them to flourish. You provide roots for them to flourish. And that's where, when we talk about roots, it's very important to talk about roots. Roots could be other connections. Yes? Other connections. And that where they can draw on to grow. And of course, wings. Wings. Where they can take off and fly. Opportunities to do what you're doing. Say, for example, Reverend Courtney Richards did provide us with roots. And by roots, we're talking about connections. Roots, people that we can connect with. Renewed Ministries itself was a root in my life. And the people I currently know and I constantly work with today, they are part of my roots. And then, of course, the wings, opportunities to travel, opportunities to speak, opportunities to see how things are done. And one of the reasons why I was able to travel the Caribbean, and the first time I ever came to the US, I believe it was 2005 or four. I went to do a mission. I went to Bethel College. Was that my first time? Can't recall. I went to Bethel College and I sang. And we did a mission there. We did a leadership conference, and I had the opportunity to share. And when we went to the Caribbean, he invited us to the Caribbean to go with him, a group of his mentees, and we shared. And some of us are very good friends today. Talk about roots and wings. Get involved in their lives. Now, there are 7 gifts a mentor gives. 1, accountability. Accountability is very important, which is we're losing sight of accountability in our society today. Accountability. The mentor gives them accountability. They are accountable to their mentor and to the mentees and to the mentoring group, because I was part of a group of I was part of a support group, and we were all being mentored by Reverend Courtney Richards. In a sense, we were accountable to the other mentees in our support groups and to Reverend Courtney Richards. And I believe that every week I would sit with him. He would ask me some questions. Have you done this? Did you do that? Based on the goals we set for the week. So we talk about 7 gifts. Another gift is affirmation. You want to affirm them when they're on the right tracks. When they are on the right track, when they are doing something amazing and powerful. You want to provide assessment. Let me ensure that you want to provide assessment. You want to assess how they're doing. That's it. And notice we said that 7 gifts are meant to give, because you're empowering them, but you are also not only are you empowering them, but you're empowering them so that they can empower others. So what you do with them, they will do with others. So you provide assessment. You assess where they are based on what you have developed and the goals you have set. You provide advice. You admonish them. You provide assets, and you provide application. Again, you provide accountability, affirmation, assessment. They need that. Advice, admonition. You admonish them. Yes. And in a sense, it's almost as if there's a parent being very, in other words, to admonish is as if you're providing constructive criticism. That's what it is. And of course, there is also, you provide them with assets, resources, sometimes tangible things. Talk about wings to fly. You provide them with assets, resources, and of course, life application. When you take them with you to places or to do things, or based on the discussions you have and so on, and opportunities for application to apply what you are passing on to them. Of course, there's a practical step, because we say it's not just theoretical. Learning is not just a theoretical, especially when the mentoring relationship is not a theoretical thing. It's relational. It's also on-the-job training. So, of course, number 7 is important. You provide the gift. The gift number 7 is important. You provide that gift and application opportunities for on-the-job training. And of course, the important thing is getting started. How do you start? Right now, today, I was speaking with a young man, and he said, I really need opportunities. We need to talk. Young people have mental health issues, but you know what's going on? They're not having conversations, deep conversations. Young people and they're not having serious conversations about life and how to deal with life. And if they do, it's surface level. Of course, how do you get started? How do you get started in a mentoring relationship? You might, and just so you know, if you want to mentor someone today, go to your church, go to your school, your college office, or your community. You can start one at the rec center in your community. Big brother, big sister, of course. But of course, remember, it's not just we are committed to a purpose and to a process and to a person, not a project or a program. So how do you start this mentoring relationship today? Number 1, you want to develop passion and vision. It begins with passion and vision. Passion for people and about people. And the vision for people and about people and for yourself and the world. Second thing, you select a person or a group from your following to be a mentee. And of course, in the social media world, you might have followers on social media. Probably one of the ways, of course, because mentoring is a relational experience, there was always this face-to-face, one-on-one. But now we're in the tectonic world that we live, where everything is going remote. It could be our follower, the person who follows you could be someone on social media that you might want to influence and impact. The third thing, you want to spend the first meeting. Once you have developed passion and vision, and after you've selected a person or group from your following to be a mentee, the third thing you want to do is spend the first meeting to discuss and craft expectations and goals. It's very important, because we talked about previously assessment. One of the 7 gifts that a mentor gives is assessment. But in order for there to be assessment, and accountability, so on. You have to spend your time discussing and crafting expectations and goals so that when you meet on a weekly basis or when you touch base, you can ask about, you can discuss the goals of how far are you progressing? Where are you in terms of your goals for this week or next week, or in terms of expectations? Did you meet your expectations for the week? And you can, and I think when I met with in my mentoring relationship with Reverend Courtney Richards and renewed, he would have 10 questions and he would ask question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I think one of the last questions was, have you lied? Have you lied to me on any of the questions, the 9 questions I've asked? The fourth thing is you want to cast vision to them, to your mentees, for reproduction. They will mentor someday. Notice earlier I said you're not just empowering others, you're not just investing in them, but also you are empowering them so that they themselves can become what you have passed on. They can pass on to others what you have passed on to them. Empowerment is expanding their capacity so that they can do the same thing. We talk about the law of reciprocity, the law of multiplication. Talk about each one reach one. So you want to you're not just passing on something for them and it will and then after that it stops there. Talk about Socrates passing on what he learned to Plato to Aristotle, so on and so forth, to what we have today. They had great succession planning in the Greco-Roman world up to now. The fifth, you want to ask them for commitment. Ask for commitment. Not just the mentor, but the mentee. The mentor should ask the mentee for commitment, buying, but the mentee should also ask the mentor for commitment, because it could be a situation where the mentee is looking for a mentor. And so the mentor probably could be the one who establishes all of this. The sixth thing is you want to determine what tools or resources you will go through together. What tools and what resources will you go together? It could be a book. It could be on a weekly basis, a different book. It could, and it all depends on the goals that you have set for the mentoring relationship and the goals that you have. And some mentoring relationships can be more dynamic, especially with some people might be looking for a father figure and you provide a strong father figure in their lives. The seventh thing is be prepared and set goals. Be prepared and set goals. In other words, develop lesson plans. The eighth thing is you want to meet regularly for a set time. Don't play it by ear. If you play it by ear, you will never meet. Whenever you hear people say, okay, we'll play it by ear, that's a recipe for disaster. There is no meeting. Okay, you want to meet regularly for a set time, and you can hold each other to that. The ninth thing is you want to discuss and apply the lessons together. The lessons. We talk about be prepared and set goals. And one of the ways you can do that is by developing lesson plans. So number 9, I talk about the issue of discussing and applying the lessons together. Number 10, you want to invest yourself. By the way, some people are saying, oh, I don't know what to do when I meet. I'm not a talker. I don't know how. If you want to fill the space or the caveat of the time with your mentee, that's why I say to you, it is important for you in the initial meeting to develop goals and expectations and so on and so forth. Spend the first meeting to discuss and craft expectations and goals, cast vision for them and so on, and determine what tools or resources you will go through together so that when you meet now, you can get into that. And of course, in addition to going through some questions you want, some accountability questions that you can set up for your mentee. Discuss and apply the lessons together. Discuss ways to apply it and how you, and of course, you are also a mentor role model. So you're going to discuss how you apply these to your life as a mentor. Invest yourself in the person and process. Invest yourself. Invest yourself. To invest is to put yourself totally into the process and into the person. And number 11, help them find a potential mentee. Towards the end of the process or throughout the process, you want to help them to find mentees as well. And that's one of the things that of course, all of this, what I'm telling you, is something that I have lived and something that I have experienced. while being mentored by Reverend Courtney Richards, one of the things that he did was, throughout the process, at some point he told us that we have to go and find other mentees. And he helped us to do that. In fact, when I left the seminary and when I moved on from Jamaica and lived and started the University of Pennsylvania, I mean, most of my life throughout, I have developed and adjusted my mentoring skills and so on. And I've been teaching and coordinating and leading programs that involves mentoring other people. So in a sense, therefore his mentorship was quite indelible in my life. He invested in my life, and what I took it, and of course started not only mentoring, but running mentoring programs. And now I'm here sharing with you this small script about mentoring and getting started. Number 11, we said we help them find a potential mentee, and finally, evaluate and launch them to try it themselves. Evaluate where they are, and then you launch them. You loose them and let them go to try it themselves. You will, and we talk about what's going on in society today. How do we deal with the issue of gun violence affecting our young people? And I say to you, and I think I was watching ABC News. Was it ABC News or NBC News Live? And they were talking about a group in Jamaica, Queens, New York, where I think a group of 25 people go into an area, I think it's South Street or somewhere in Jamaica, Queens. And there is a school that has a high amount of violence affecting the young people. And their job is they're in the mornings, during the peak hours, when they are in the mornings and when they leave school, you have a group of volunteers, of adults who meet there in the corners and the road to engage, to talk, have discussions, conversations. That's it. There is a need for this if we are going to recapture and to save society. It's not just coming up with rules and laws and regulations. See, for example, we talk about the 23-year-old or 24-year-old Ja Morant, and people are asking, what is the problem with Ja Morant? It could be that we could provide, maybe, I said to you, part of the problem is a lack of positive role models and mentors in our society. And we are allowing games and social media to invest and to impart in our young people. Finally, well, actually, this is not finally. There's a difference between, there are two very important factors that you have to consider: event and process. Event. Mentoring is a process. It's not necessarily an event. It's not. You can make it into an event because event carries and attracts a lot of followers, a lot of people, crowd. You make it into an event, make it into a big thing. So it is an event, but you have to. It is a process. It is an event, especially when you are meeting with the person on a daily basis. But it is more than an event. But if you make it or limit it to an event, you're diluting the efficacy of the mentoring process, because we said it's a mentoring relationship. But we say that it is a process. It is relational. It is not static. It is dynamic. So mentoring is not an event. However, it involves event planning. It involves sticking to a timeline. It is okay. That is the accountability aspect of it. You make it into an event. However, it is more than an event. It is a process. So the commitment is to not necessarily to in an event, it's to the process. When we talk about, there's a difference between event and process. One, an event encourages decision. A process encourages development. Two, an event motivates people. A process matures people. So we talk about, you want to use the opportunities and the time with your mentee to motivate them, to encourage them. But don't just make it into an event or a program. Remember, it's a process. So it's not just, you don't want to motivate them or to provide opportunities for this relational dynamic relationship. It's not just going to happen on a Saturday at 8 o'clock, Saturday at 9, or a Sunday or a Tuesday, whenever time you set. It is a process. you want to, if you are investing in somebody and it's a relational experience, treat it like that, a relational experience. Okay. So it encourages development. It matures people. It's not just, okay. An event is a calendar issue. However, a process is a consistency issue. A consistency issue. So if you make it into a process, that develops consistency. It's something you have to do over time. You might miss 1 meeting, 2 meetings. Fine. If you make it into an event, then of course you think you have failed. But if it's a process, there are going to be ups and there's going to be down. Then there's going to be down. Remember that we said that earlier. But if you are committed to a person and to the process and to a purpose, then it goes beyond just missing 1 or 2 meetings. Then it goes beyond just the day when you meet. You also have to have a telephone conversation. And so on and so forth. Daily check-ins or weekly check-ins, whatever the case might be. An event challenges people. So of course we talk about accountability. You want to challenge people, but the process change. So you wanna the meetings and the time that we have relating and exchanging with each other is an opportunity to challenge. But over time it changes you. So you can't use one event to think that the person will change. It's a process. So you use several events. Mentoring as an event serves as a catalyst. However, mentoring as a process serves to inculcate and to facilitate a culture. Culture is a way of life. Catalyst is an opportunity or one cataclysmic event leading to some, that could spur on other things. So mentoring as an event provides the catalyst for change. But it's not, but you want to develop, you want mentoring to be a process. So it's not just think about it as one event, several events over time. And over time, it becomes a way of life. And of course, finally, an event is easy in a sense, or other people will agree. An event is not. Mentoring as an event is easy. You can schedule it and you meet. But as a process, it is difficult. As a process is never easy. A process is never easy. It could be fast, it could be slow, ups and downs. You have to change and rework it. And there are several glitches in the system. A process involves a systematic thing. A relationship involves a dynamic, systematic relationship in a sense. So as a process, it is difficult. When you understand that mentoring is a process, which is difficult, which involves helping a person to develop a way of life. The goal is towards changing people or improving them. Then, of course, it involves, when you understand that, then you won't see it as a failure or a one-time thing with leading to failure. It means you understand the issue of, you understand this commitment. And finally, I encourage you today to get started. And how do you get started? Find a time, find a team, and find a tool. That sounds like an event, yes. But remember, it's more than just one event. And you may fail finding a time now, so that doesn't mean you're going to quit, because it's a process. Okay? So you will and come again, as we say. Find a time, find a team or a person, and of course, find a tool, a resource. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. You might be listening to the podcast, you might be watching. But thank you so much for allowing me to spend the time to talk with you today about mentoring, investing your life in others. Mentoring, how to invest your life in others. Of course, the next time we talk about mentoring, we're going to be talking about 7 practical steps to mentoring. And we hope to have Reverend Courtney Richards of Renewed Ministries, or one of my former mentors, who's my best friend, Reverend Richard Beckford, who is the head of the department of Jamaica Theological Seminary. And I hope to have some opportunity to talk with them. And of course, one of these days, when I meet with some of my mentees, we'll provide an opportunity to open this up to you guys, to see some of the discussions and the deep, intense conversations we have. Of course, I invite you to support to the NeoLiberal by going to anchor.fm/NeoLiberal/support. Visit us at theneoliberal.com or renaldomckenzie.com. And please get a copy of my book, Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty and Resistance. I remember once I was struggling academically while I was at Jamaica Theological Seminary. And I was an A student, but I don't know, I was going through issues. And I love playing video games. I had a PS. I love playing video games. Mortal Kombat, Grand Theft, whatever the case might be. So my mentoring group and Reverend Courtney Richards, we all met together and they held me accountable. They said, okay, fine, we're going to they delved deep into my life to see what was going on. So, the video game. So they took my video game, my PS from me. And they said, we will return it to you when we see changes in your grades. And of course, I got all A's that semester and they returned my PS to me. But I brought that issue, I shared that issue to let you guys, to share with you. And of course, today, and I was able to graduate from the Jamaica Theological Seminary. And today I've written a book. And I'm about to publish a second book. I'm working on 2 other books. And I give God thanks for people like Reverend Courtney Richards and Renewed Ministries that provided a support group and provided a mentorship opportunity. Reverend Courtney Richards invested in my life, and I'm here today. And of course, life isn't easy. I'm still going through a lot, but I have learned, but I'm learning, and I'm even learning more. And I've grown beyond what Reverend Courtney Richards took me at a particular point, but I grew beyond that. And this has helped me significantly. This is how, if you whatever community you are in, whatever community you are in, I hope that you find a mentee and you find a time and a tool. Our young people need us. Reach out to me at renaldomckenzie@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter or Facebook, and let's have a discussion. And if you want a copy of the particular material or the discussion, I will share that with you. Or you may, if you want me to come into your organization and talk about this very particular topic and help you with developing a mentoring program for yourself and your school or your church or whatever group or your company, I am available. We are available at the NeoLiberal Corporation because we are about serving the world today to solve tomorrow's challenges. What good?